My name is Ted Peso. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at the Knight Ministry in Chicago, Illinois. So first of all, I want to thank Senator Durbin for his attention and leadership on this issue. I'd also particularly like to thank the members of his staff who have come to the table with us multiple times over the past several years to learn about, advocate for, and improve the services that we provide to young people in Chicago and throughout Illinois. So across Illinois, there are 15 providers who receive funding from the Runaway and Homeless Youth Act to support 14 basic center programs, 3 maternity group homes, 7 transitional living programs, and 5 street outreach programs. Chicago is also the home to the national communication system for Runaway and homeless youth. And the size of those programs do not meet the demand in our state. So at the Knight Ministry, we provide human connection, housing, and healthcare support to youth and adults in Chicago who are experiencing homelessness and poverty. We have Runaway and Homeless Youth Act funded grants in all of those program areas. Last year, we served 550 young people and 100 of their children. In order for us to do this critical work, we must have access to federal funding like the Runaway and Homeless Youth Act that allows us to meet young people where they are at in the situations they have found themselves experiencing and provide them with services that best meet their unique needs. In 2021, according to the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, nearly 12,000 young people were experiencing homelessness in the city of Chicago. That's young people under the age of 24. And 88% of these unaccompanied youth were temporarily staying with others in highly unstable and often unsafe living situations. Passing RHYTPA and reauthorizing RHYA is essential because this funding understands the unique way that young people experience homelessness, more often doubled up than living on the streets, and allows us to serve them right away. Additionally, the core outcomes within RHYA are designed to meet young people where they're at and set them up for success. Well-being, permanent connections, education or employment, and stable housing are areas that young people understand, areas that are relevant to their needs, and they feel are achievable. So thank you for your time today and for your support of this important legislation. I'm going to pass this over to my colleague, Stephanie.
Thank you, Greg. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Special thanks to Senator Durbin and Senator Durbin's staff and Senator Collins and her staff as well for supporting this important work. As Ted mentioned, a lot of our programs are supported by the RHYA bill. Ignite is in Chicago, and we serve over 500 young people per year. Our vision is that all young people should be defined by their potential and who they are, and not the circumstances that they are in. We serve youth as young as 10 up to 26 and ensure that they are on a path to realize the future that's meant for them, not the obstacles that are in front of them at that moment in time. I want to highlight, while Ignite has a TLP program, and we use a lot of acronyms, transitional living program. We also have a basic center program, which is the emergency shelter for young people. We do street and community outreach, which is also funded by the RHYA bill, which is critical. And those programs, while are very important, I want to focus on 2 that really need your support in helping pass this reauthorization. 2 of the programs that we operate in Chicago are the Basic Center program and the Street and Community Outreach, in addition to the TLP program. And why these are so important is that you heard this earlier today. The HUD definition for homelessness is very different than how youth experience homelessness. So through our Street and Community Outreach, we on average reach 5,000 young people through our touch points, either on the buses or trains in Chicago, or through our connections through schools and churches. These are young people who are couch surfing, who are going from family members' couches, friends' couches, and sometimes sleeping on the train or bus at night. These young people, unfortunately, are not defined as experiencing homelessness and will not qualify to get into programs. Because of our street and community outreach, we bring young people into Ignite, help them get the IDs and the resources that they need to be able to not only get safe and stable housing, but get appropriately matched to a program that's going to meet their needs. A young person is not always the first one to say, I'm experiencing homelessness. We bring them to a safe place with caring, loving adults where they can actually open up and we can help them. The second piece that Ignite supports through this RHYA bill is our Basic Center. A Basic Center basically means it's a 24/7 shelter. We are one of only 2 shelters in the Chicago area with the night ministry that can take a young person who's crossed a state line. What that means is because of the RHYA bill and the Basic Center, young people who are trafficked into Chicago can be served by our shelters with no questions asked. We just last year have young people who've come to us from New Jersey, New York, Texas, other states where they were either trafficked or experiencing unsafe living conditions. One of the other pieces of the RHYA bill that's important is it will extend the amount of time a young person can be in the emergency shelter. Right now it's 21 days, it will extend it to 35, which is critical when we're trying to reunite families or reunite a young person with a safe and stable place to live. So it's critical that we have that time to work with them. I want to thank you all for your support, and I look forward to seeing RHYA move forward and for some of these changes to take place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Susan Frankel, and I'm the CEO of the National Runaway Safe Line. I so appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak with all of you today. I want to echo everyone's thanks for Senator Durbin and his staff's support for all of our work, as well as Senator Collins and her staff. I also want to thank the young people who shared their stories and spoke today, Elizabeth, Hannah, and Sade. It is in many ways their voices, their perspective, their experiences that should absolutely continue to be heard, but to be listened to in order to really understand the importance of passing the legislation we're here to talk about today. But I'm also tasked with talking about the National Runaway Safe Line, and in particular the National Communication System that we are funded to operate. The National Runaway Safe Line, or NRS, is located in Chicago. We've been doing this work since 1971, providing 24/7 access to crisis intervention services, support, and resources. And we remain today one of the longest standing service providers for youth who've run away or experiencing homelessness across the country. We have operated the National Communication System since its inception and original funding and passage of the RHYA Act since 1974, so nearly 50 years of a lot of experience, a lot of change, but really understanding the importance and the difference that this investment makes. We're committed to ensuring that young people and young adults across the U.S. are safe and off the streets. And we offer this round-the-clock access to confidential, non-judgmental, immediate support to both youth and their families through our 1-800-RUNAWAY hotline and live texting services, and our comprehensive online platform, 1-800-RUNAWAY.org, which offers digital resources and access to chat, email, and an online interactive forum for young people. The National Communication System also allows us to really operate one of the largest extensive database referral systems across the country, with over 8,000 identified service providers, and all of these folks in this room and folks that we are able to work with and ensure that when young people reach out to us anytime, day or night, from anywhere in the country, we are able to hopefully, and this is always the goal, to connect them to local systems of support and local resources. So without the National Communication System, it sometimes can just make that barrier even higher. What we are here to do is to make that connection. And just to be clear, those resources include things such as access to shelter, substance abuse programs, and mental health services. But one of the other critical things, and I think it's important to note, that is particularly over the past 4 years, we through the Safe Line and the work that we're doing, have witnessed a substantial escalation in both the urgency and severity of the challenges that are faced by young people seeking our assistance. And this is highlighted by a marked increase in the number of younger adolescents, particularly those ages 10 to 14, who are reaching out to the Safe Line and across the country for other resources for help. One other just important thing to note, and I'm getting a look a little bit from Darla, so I'm just going to wrap things up. In 2022, 42% of youth and young adults who reached out to the Safe Line for help were still at home. While home may not be the safest option, and that might not be where they stay, it is important to understand that investing in the services and resources that the Runaway and Homeless Youth and Trafficking Prevention Act would would make a difference in is essentially ensuring that those systems exist, but that also we have an opportunity to really invest early in prevention and early intervention. If we are able to connect that 42% of young people reaching out to Safeline to help when they immediately reach out, think of the difference that the services would make, but think of the difference in those young people's lives. So while we certainly applaud members of Congress and the federal government for taking meaningful steps to invest in funds and support vulnerable youth and their families, we've got to do more, and we have to do it today. So it is by passing this legislation and ensuring that this continuum of services and resources remain available for some of the most vulnerable members of our communities, that will make the difference. And our kids can't wait. They can't wait another decade. And so I ask for your continued support and to help pass this legislation.